You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mike.
So where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling in from Rochester, New York, upstate, pretty close to Canada.
Yeah. How is the weather in Rochester right now? Hope it's really warm.
Yep, it's freezing. It's freezing for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Crunchy outside.
Crunchy, I like that. I haven't heard that one. So tell our listeners a little something interesting about yourself, Amy.
Something interesting. I grew up in rural America, like not a city girl at all. So grew up very rural. And I was an entrepreneur probably long before I even knew the term or knew what I was. So I think it was funny. I remember like realizing I was an entrepreneur and being like, oh, that's what I am. So
That's awesome. So tell us, so what made you think that you were an entrepreneur?
Well, I was like heartily into creating my first software as a service platform, and somebody said the word entrepreneur, and I was like, "Oh, guess that's what I am." You know, and I was solving problems and already into it. So
tell us a little bit about your company. What is it that it does? The value that it brings to the marketplace.
So GiveALee is a technology platform, and it helps brands streamline and track their charitable giving. So if you think of Ben & Jerry's or Cliff Bar or Numi Tea, like they get asks for donations from nonprofits all the time. Yeah. And it's really archaic how most companies, small and large, manage it right now. They do it by paper phone call. So with our technology, we have an online application form that sits customer facing on their site. An intake form, and then on the back end they have a console that they can approve or deny those requests. So it saves heap tons of time along with showing a lot of social impact data.
What do most companies use if they're not using? You mentioned it. Is it more like is it more of a tax flow through or a CPA handling that kind of stuff right now if they're not using a platform like yours or a SaaS platform?
Great question. No, actually, there is a dedicated employee. Sometimes if there's enough, we have some clients where it's literally all of their full-time work. They get hundreds and hundreds of requests, and then other employees, it's part of their work. There was one potential client I talked with. They had 10 people managing emails coming in. 10 people managing paper and emails coming in for donations, and I was like, okay, well, I think there's a better way for that. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds pretty. I mean, so your platform has been around for how long, maybe?
About 9 years now.
Wow.
Yep, 9 years.
Yeah, a lot of moving pieces. It sounds like in terms of making it better and better. Is there anything exciting that you're kind of coming out with in terms of the software now?
Yes, we are adding in a bunch of different features. I would say, we've primarily focused in the consumer packaged goods industry for a long time now, and we are shifting to really come alongside small businesses. There's no business in America that's not giving, right? I mean, everybody's giving at some level, and so the solution can solve things for large corporations, but it can also be a really big help to small businesses, right? Those are the mom and pop places where the owners are the managers. They are the ones that are fielding the requests, and those are their customers that are coming in the door every day. They look at them face to face and they think, oh my word, how can I say no to you? Or how, this can't take so much time. So we're really coming alongside them and creating some features to help them.
That's great. That's awesome. I mean, it sounds like, why charity?
Well, the space, interestingly enough, our clients are for-profit companies, so they pay for the service. And a lot of times it is nonprofits asking for donations, but it could be anyone, right? It could be grassroots organizations. It could be your uncle who had surgery and can't afford it. I mean, it can be anybody. So they just get, the community engagement is really high. And so, and any brand. So that's, we just make that transaction easy and happy for everybody.
Awesome. So give me a time where you've had 9 years in the process of growing this thing. I love stories. Amy. So give me a time where you felt you've hit rock bottom or close to it, and how you were able to overcome that disaster or challenge. Sometimes I say disaster because some people are like, yes, I've had a disaster. And some people are like, yeah, I had a really big challenge and here's how. But I love to give that kind of story to our listeners because we have a lot of people that want to continue to grow in their business and or some that want to aspire to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So I think there's a few different areas, Mike. So there's like the story that actually, there's like the facts of what actually is happening. And then there's the emotions that we feel about it, right? The stories that we tell ourselves that either get us like wound up or wound down. And then there's the physical response that we have early on in the process. I couldn't even tell you exactly, like I was struggling to really build out the platform. It wasn't my forte. And I just remember feeling just in a fog, and I was just really frustrated and discouraged. And I was about to go on to a podcast. Ironically, it's funny. It's coming to me right now. And I was just so frustrated. I thought I'm going to just fall apart right here. And so I looked at the clock. I remember I looked at the clock. I looked at my watch and I was like, okay, you've got 7 minutes to fall apart. And then you've got 4 minutes to pull yourself back together. And I just sat down in the corner of my kitchen and I was like, bah, let it all go. 7 minutes, clocked myself. And then it was like, okay, you got 4 minutes now, like wipe your face off, girl, get it together, go on this podcast. So, obviously that was like the emotion and the physicality of it. So I think there's management of all of these different things. There are other stories where, whether it's finances that are tight, whether it's, relationships that get pinched or, that part, it's like the business could be really great. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I just totally pissed somebody off over here, and then you're like, man, then you gotta, I say you gotta deal with that. Like, that is life. Right. And
That's right.
So I think just, acknowledging that there's those three components, there's like the facts of what is actually happening. And most of the time we blow things out of proportion.
Right.
And then there's the emotion of, what we're going through and if we're going to wind it up in our brain and make it worse or like calm it down. And then there's the physical outlay of it. So
I think that's a really good point. And I think it's just going back to on an angle for maybe a pitch to this podcast of business and life that you just both mentioned, that they both happen, right? And they happen simultaneously. Yeah. And how does one not affect the other? It does. It's going to affect the other, right? And so something like you mentioned on just shifting your mindset before you jumped on that podcast or before you go into a meeting or before you talk to an employee about performance, you want to have a clear mindset and go into that thing clear. But it's the truth. I mean, you're going to have a rocky life, business, and they're going to intertwine together, I think. And so understanding that that's going to happen and that's going to get easier and easier to deal with, I think is kind of the journey aspect that we all kind of go through as entrepreneurs. Is there, after so many years of doing this, and I say, sometimes they're business speed bumps, right? That's what they are. They're life speed bumps. We all go through them. There's a breakup, there's divorces, there's a lot of things that happen to entrepreneurs that I've spoken to and that you've obviously have encountered as well, and me as well personally. Why do you think that many entrepreneurs out there, Amy, just give up?
It's hard.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's brutal. And I think that it really comes down to what's inside of us that's the most brutal, that has to be worked through. It's not the external stuff. I mean, we push it. That's the thing. That's why entrepreneurs quit. If you push it off and you say it's the external circumstances that are the problem, then you're not going to make it, right? Because we are at the heart of every issue. It doesn't matter what it is, and when you finally can lock into that and say like, all right, my mental game is not strong enough. And I'm not talking about plowing through, right? Like that, because that's something that early on in entrepreneurial land for years, you kind of like push, come on, I got this, grind hard. And then really when you get to a point in your business and your life, you realize, okay, that is not enough. Like I actually need to play this game smarter. And what does that look like? Not just harder.
Life Nation, we're all striving towards different goals. Maybe your goal is to finally quit the 8 to 5 grind, quit your job, or take the next step with your existing business. Whatever the goal may be, regardless of your reasons, if you are serious about taking the next step and finally trying to build the life that you deserve, the life that you want to live, take the leap of faith. Go to michaellevis.com and let's discuss your goals and life. It's 100% free. There's no obligation. It's MIKEOLIVAS.com. Schedule a quick call. I'd love to help.
So it's the internal work that I think eliminates a lot of entrepreneurs along the way, because they're just not.
I couldn't agree more. I think that once you build the skill set of understanding, you know what you're doing. Like, maybe a lot of your stress came from developers, because I've been in that world, right? and I get it, by the way, and I'm still in that world on a day-to-day, but luckily project managers take care of most of that language on how to communicate with people. But once you start learning the business, once you start creating those step-by-step processes and or franchise your business, if you will, and break that down, you're still going to go through some of the personal things in life, but you're also going to realize that I think at some point it's not that the stress goes away. Again, it gets easier to kind of take the bullets versus dodge them. I say that a lot on the show, but you mentioned something like it's brutal, and it is. I think that's something that we should be transparent about as the aspiring entrepreneurs, that it's tough. It's a lot of work, but the reward comes with that risk. And that's why business owners make good money, or business owners can be happy or build a life that they want to live. And it comes because it came with all of the stress. There's no such thing as an overnight success. It takes 10 years to create an overnight success in my book and most people's books, right? And that's still not even close to done, right? You still are building, and it's like in a SaaS world, I'm sure it's always continuously making it better. And I had a coach for a while, and if you're listening and you don't have a coach and you're thinking about getting one, I coach. I do business coaching a lot, and sometimes I feel when I had coaches, and this is why I became one, and I don't do a lot of clients, I just don't have the time to, but I had a Tony Robbins coach that I felt like half the time he just was patting me on the back virtually saying, everything's going to be okay, Mike. Like, I feel like that's really what it was. Like, it's just like, listen, you've had it for so many years. You've had it for 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. And it's like, everything's going to be okay. And you got to kind of be reminded that. So if you're out there and you're freaking out about something right now and you're listening, just realize everything's going to be okay, likely because you're going to make it okay. And that shouldn't stress you out. That's okay, because you have the skill set to do it. And you have the, I guess, audacity to go against the grain and build this business of yours. And so you've done this for so many years. What are you excited about currently with GiveALee? What is it like about the platform, about the industry that's exciting you personally right now?
I kind of touched on this, but there's no business in America that is not giving, right? So everyone wants to say that everyone's their target market, but really, every small businesses, large businesses, everyone can use our platform, and I would say probably 3/4 of them actually need to, and would save a heap ton of time. So that's really exciting, right? To just be able to know that I can talk to any single business owner who has a brick and mortar store, and say, and it doesn't matter if you're in the legal industry, if you're in the healthcare industry, if you're in food and beverage, like, it doesn't matter, because you're giving and you're involved in your community. So that is really exciting. And really, we have a few competitors out there, but they've gone after the really, really, really big companies, and no one is going after the small guys.
I love that.
So yeah, me too. So it's a super exciting time.
I love that. I took a similar approach in my national group travel business, where I saw some competitors come in, and I realized, like, everyone's going after the big fish, but there's so much opportunity with everything else. So I always let all the bulldogs focus on that one piece of meat, because there's a lot out there, right? Let them just fight again. That's okay. And I think that's a great strategy. So if you're listening out there, like, oh my God, I got to go and get the biggest and the best clients. No, you don't. If you have the processes in place, no, you don't. You can go out there and be very, very successful and probably do lower amount of work and less amount of touches for the big dogs, because that's what they need, and still be able to create some kind of an awesome business around a focused niche demographic within you. Niche out your own niche, right, if you will, and find out who the heck needs it. So is there a certain amount of giving that if someone's listening saying, like, I'm a business owner, I got to give if I'm not giving, what are the benefits of doing so? And is there a certain amount threshold that you feel or that's necessary within the platform?
Great questions, Mike. So I would say, we are entering this age of the millennials taking over the consumer market. And we've heard about this and we've been talking about this, but I think we have no idea what is about to hit us, honestly.
Yeah.
So with millennials, everything has to have purpose and intention and meaning, right? They don't just want to buy something that's just the cheapest, right? They care about their products. They care about where they came from. They care about the supply chains and the sources and all this stuff. So it's important that social aspects and social impact is part of every brand on some level. You could be a mechanic And you could just say like, we support our local little league team, and like, go hard at that. That's awesome. But giving and having meaning and purpose behind your brand is going to be really important going forward. So if if you're listening and you don't really have that nail that down first. Yeah. Who should you be giving to based on your brand? And then, find out how to do that in your community in a way that resonates with you and your employees. And then as far as people using our platform, I typically say for a mom and pop's place, if you're getting a few asks a week, then what we say is it's about 10 minutes to deny a request, any request that comes in, and about 30 minutes to approve it, all the admin stuff that goes with it. Okay. So you run the numbers. If you've got 5 requests coming in a month, then you know how many minutes. If you approve all 5 of them, 5 times 30, you know how many minutes you're spending. Yeah. And so when you can pay such a nominal fee, in the teens or 20s as a small business owner to take care of that, like you're just saving so much time. So time is money, right? I mean, that's the game right. that we come down to. So I would say if you anywhere from a few requests a week, if you're getting that much, it's probably worth connecting with me and checking out our platform.
Absolutely. And where can they do that?
So you can reach me at Amy, A-M-Y, at GiveALee, GiveALee.com, or you can go to GiveALee, GiveALee.com, and check out the platform and learn a little bit more there.
Awesome. So business and life, if you're listening and you have a business, I think right now it's, understanding that branding is becoming more and more prevalent across the board. And you mentioned something where, and I'm big into millennial marketing and Gen Z now, because collegiate demographic is what my national group travel business focuses on. And you're absolutely right. They do care. The millennial world, which I'm officially a part of, probably the very first year, not to date myself. But the truth is that like from a brand perspective, if you can give something, if you're making money and you're profitable, and you can give something, people sometimes from a sales perspective might not think, if I'm not making money out of it, if I can't measure it, like, why are we going to do it? Well, here's why. It just shows that you care and it's the right thing to do. That's about it. Anything else, that's fine. But if you care, do something, right? And if you can give back, realize that you're very fortunate for being able to have a business, to have the life that you live right now. Find something that you believe in and give back, and check out GiveALee to be able to do it a lot easier, right? Yeah. How are you currently, this is about business and life. So how have you built the life that you want to live, Amy?
Really good question. Really good question. So I think that was herky-jerky along the way, right? You start off and it's like I did it backwards. Like, I'm going to have this business, and it consumed all of my time and all of my effort and energy. It's like, actually, I didn't get into life to do business. I got into life to do life, right? So I learned some hard lessons along the way. I had my daughter about 5 years ago, and that was a really big wake-up call. It's like, okay, and now you're a mom, so this is a big part of your life. Right. So I think it's been, a forced learning plan for me to say, I'm an alpha, right? So I'm like a type A, like go hard. I could work like 26 hours a day. And realizing that like business is not the most beautiful thing in life was probably the hardest lesson, right? Like it's the people. It's the people. And so that's really, I've scaled back my efforts in the business. I've brought in others who can really take over some things that I was doing so that I can be that mom, so that I can have those relationships, so that I can, have the life right now that I want to have. And it doesn't have to be, in 10 years or in 5 years or in 3 years, when I X, then I can, right? Like that mindset kind of needs to go out the window. We need to start living today the way that we want to incorporate all the aspects. And not wait for it.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that comes with a little caveat of understanding that your business life is not ever going to be a straight line, and understand that if you're out there like, oh, I got this business plan. There's some people I talk to now. It's just my 2 cents. Throw it out the window. You're not going to be. You're not going to stick to
exactly.
it. Okay. Just start. If you're thinking about starting something, just start. Take the first step. Start Googling. Start. People ask, "What did you learn business?" I was like, Google, YouTube, like just books, right? Like asking questions, then starting to learn how to get mentors and coaches and all that kind of jazz help. But really, then your life's going to happen. You're going to have a daughter 5 years ago and realize how am I going to spend time to raise this person, right? So
Yeah.
you've had to find a way to adapt. But the skill set that a business gives you, I think, allows you to do so, right? Like you actually are now building, you have an entrepreneur skill set. Like I can now find ways to do what is most important in the business and then eventually possibly become the visionary. You don't have to exit. You can become the visionary and start working on the business versus in it. And it's so normal to start doing so initially to work in it. You're going to be the chief everything officer as a CEO.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But eventually understanding that life wins the game. And it really does. If you're not having the end game at the light at the end of the tunnel of finding out what you want and how you want to live, building that life you want to live is extremely important. And at least knowing that that's the end game. It's not just going to be a dollar sign because we're not taking none of that with us.
Yeah.
And realizing that there's a feeling that we're all hopefully trying to push, and it could be family, it could be giving back. Exactly. So I think that's great advice in terms of all your successes, Amy, and what you've done so far. What's a good piece or one piece of parting advice that you give to business and life listeners out there?
One piece.
Just one.
Slow down.
Ooh, I love it. I love that.
Maybe I said that for myself today. I don't know. No.
Yeah. Are you looking in the mirror right now? Or?
Yeah, exactly. Right. I think there's this, whether it's a scarcity mentality or fear, there's literally just this built-in thing like we're going to run out of time. We're not going to get it done. I'm not going to make the goal. I'm not going to win. I'm not going to be first. I don't know what's there in each of us, but it's there, for entrepreneurs, typically there's something there. And slowing down really gives us perspective, and you start to look and say like, okay, because we make bad choices by going so fast, and we make dumb choices. We waste time. Like we waste so much time because we're like, I'm going.
Right.
So I think slow down, and like, you're not going to die if you slow down. You're not going to lose if you slow it down a little bit. And to those people who are slow goers, speed it up.
Yeah, there you go. Do something different.
Yeah. There's some people that are so cautious, they do want the business plan. They do want the business cards. And it's like, forget the business plan, forget the business cards, go out there and have a conversation and sell what you have. It doesn't matter if you have an accounting system in place right now, like none of that matters. It really doesn't. So
I agree.
Sell what you have. If you're a slow goer, go faster. If you're a fast goer, go slower.
I love the slow down approach. I mean, I love spin class. And so the analogy that I like to use or chat with people about is like, slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
It has been like when I tighten that thing and when I tighten that bike and I'm slowing down, my ROI and calorie outtake is speeding up. Mm-hmm. And so slowing down to speed up is really important. It's patience. And I think that kind of comes down to the slow down aspect. You got to learn patience. It was so hard for me. Yeah. If anybody like listens to this and they're friends of mine or my family, like, really, Mike, you're talking about patience? Like, I know. But it's a learning process. And that was one thing that I had to look in the mirror and realize, but it's very important that patience and enjoying the journey, not just the outcome. All right. And that journey is going to happen. And it's just sticking with it. Like you mentioned, it's brutal. It's brutal out there. It's real, but you will have such a really great feeling of accomplishment once you stick with it. And slowing down is definitely great advice. Thank you so much, Amy, for your time. We found out where we're going to meet you or find you on the show notes. If you guys have any questions, you can jump on there and just look in our search box and type in Amy Kauffman and she'll be there.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Liebus, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.